04. The Church lost Jesus. What is the way? If the Tao is called the Tao, it is no longer the Tao. If the road is called the way, it is no longer the way. Nevertheless, to speak of the Tao and name it, even if it is not the Tao, even if it is not the true name, is to reach the Tao beyond words and to meet the reality beyond the name. That is why we often use the method of denial when speaking the truth. At least, it is a way of saying, no. So, people usually try to explain with, no, rather than, yes. This is Lao-tzu's, Tao Te Ching Chinese thought, way of saying that Dogado and Bisangdo are also called Myeonggamyeong and Bisangmyeong. But even that alone is never enough. Let's take a look at the biblical statements of truth. What is our way? What is truth? Jesus says, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. It is different from Lao-tzu's statement and different from negative language. I am the way. I am the truth. I am the life. And he says, no one goes to the Father except through me. I don't know my way now, but later I will, he says. It is a word spoken while predicting the end of life. What kind of lightning strike is this? I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. What could be simpler and clearer than this? But is it really clear? Not like that. Is there anything more difficult and complicated than this? Lao-tzu says that the Tao is not the Tao, but Jesus says that I am the way, the truth, and the life. On the other hand, it is concise and straightforward, but the problem lies in I, who is the way, truth, and life. It seems concise, but not concise because it is an unsolved topic and an unknowable proposition about who I am. People thoroughly misinterpret this word. Religious people, Christians, thoroughly made this word a doctrine. That is why Christianity appeared, and a new doctrine appeared that only Jesus is the way, only Jesus is the truth, and only Jesus is the life. In other words, they made Jesus their religious leader and made Jesus an excuse to make them their king. So, the question of who I am was blocked at the source. So it became even more unknown. Let's look at the context of John chapter 14. The conversation begins like this. Do not let your heart be troubled. Believe in God. Believe in me. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. There is also this saying, if you knew me, you would also know my Father. From now on you knew him and saw him again. Philip asks, Lord, show us the Father. That will suffice. Jesus says, Philip, I have been with you so long, and you do not know me. He who has seen me has seen the Father, so why do you say show me the Father? Here is the great gap between the disciples and Jesus. Of course, there is the same chasm not only between Philip and Jesus, but also between Christians and Jesus today. What kind of gap? The God that Philip wants to see and the God that religious people want to believe in today are largely similar. But the God Jesus was talking about is completely different. Jesus cannot show Philip the God he wants to see. The God of Jesus is not such a God. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Because of these words, people today call Jesus God. In addition, various doctrines appear to prove this fact. Jesus is the Son of God, and he is God. What do you mean there is a problem there? Yes. At first glance, isn't it too biblical? In other words, it is reasonable and reasonable. But what is the problem? Jesus, he believes in God, and he doesn't tell me to believe. People believe in God and believe in Jesus. What is the problem with believing in Jesus? Doesn't the Bible testify that no other name has been given to people under heaven by which they can be saved? Isn't that why you have to believe in Jesus? The question is, who is the Jesus? Jesus here is not the Jesus. To believe in Jesus according to the flesh is not to believe in Jesus. To understand Jesus according to the flesh is not to understand Jesus. The I that Jesus refers to is not Jesus according to the flesh. When it is said that those who have seen, I, have seen God, I, does not mean Jesus, the son of a carpenter. Even at the time of Jesus, the same gap between the disciples who followed him and the many people surrounding him also occurs. When people see Jesus, they do not see his inner man. I try to understand him by following his exterior and focusing on the outer man, Jesus. This is also why communication problems arise. The same goes for understanding God. The God Jesus spoke of was the I in Jesus. That was the God he wanted to show. So he could say that I is the road. All attempts to see God while ignoring the I are futile. How frustrating would that be? To Philip he says, I have been with you for so long, and do you not know me? He who has seen me has seen the Father, so why do you say show me the Father? John chapter 14 verse 9. Yes. Philip has been spending so much time with Jesus, but he doesn't know Jesus. He was looking at Jesus, but he didn't see Jesus. Why? What kind of Jesus was the Jesus he was with, so that he did not know Jesus? Philip followed Jesus like that, but the Jesus he followed was the outward man Jesus. Therefore, even when he saw Jesus, he did not see Jesus. The same goes for God. Philip wanted Jesus to show God. As he followed Jesus around, he probably believed that Jesus must be the one who could show God. But where does that belief come from? The faith that he believes that he is the one who will show God about Jesus is therefore only faith that belongs to the flesh. In other words, it is only their own belief in themselves, and their own belief in Jesus and God. So no matter how strong and good the faith is, it is just a vain faith. Wouldn't there have been Philips at the scene where Peter confessed that he was the Christ and the Son of the living God? When Jesus gave the sign of the 5 loaves and 2 fish in the wilderness, Philip vividly witnessed the scene again and again. Who would doubt Philip's belief that Jesus must be the Messiah? It will be an experience, a vivid experience of Philip's Jesus. But what kind of Jesus is he still experiencing, understanding, and feeling? What kind of God was the God he hoped for? What is Jesus's answer to the God Philip longs for? Philip said, Lord, show us his Father. Jesus says, He who has seen me has seen the Father, so why do you say show me the Father? The I Jesus is referring to is not the Jesus Philip sees. The I that Jesus refers to as I refers to the I that Abraham saw and rejoiced. It refers to the I that existed even in the time of David. If you see that being through Jesus, you are seeing the Father. However, the disciples who followed him did not see that Jesus. However, he was looking at the outer man, Jesus, who was just a vessel containing that I. That is why he did not see Jesus. No, so he does not know God. He still begs to see God. Gospel of John chapter 14 is the point at which Jesus' public ministry is coming to an end. Whatever the story, the disciples gave up their livelihoods and followed Jesus. He believed him. If he didn't believe in him, how could he have followed him this far? But Jesus says he believes in God, so believe in me. Who is the Jesus whom the disciples believed in, and why are you emphasizing to believe in me again? In the meantime, he believed in Jesus and followed him. What is that faith? So he asks him to believe again. What should he believe? Who is Jesus? In this respect, Christianity has become a religion that does not believe in the me that Jesus is talking about, but believes in the outward Jesus that he denied and denied. So Jesus became another Jesus. The Jesus, whom Jesus was talking about, the I, has been castrated, and only another Jesus, the Jesus according to the flesh, has become the owner of the church. Here lies the tragedy. Here, the church has lost Jesus. They earnestly claim to believe in Jesus, but insist on only other Jesus, the worm Jesus, and the king of the world, Jesus, and serve him as their master, so that Jesus has become Satan to be hung in the air. What kind of God is the God Jesus is talking about? He who has seen, I, has seen his Father. Jesus asked his disciples, "Who are my mother and who are my brothers?" Looking at his physical mother and brothers. Even there, speaking according to the flesh, Mary and her brothers were undoubtedly his mother and brothers. However, when Jesus said, "Who is my mother, brother, and sister," that Jesus was the Jesus that Jesus really wanted to show. That is the I spoken of in John chapter 14. For Jesus, God was the I of Jesus. Therefore, God is in that I, and that I is in God. Just as Jesus said, "I am in the Father, and the Father is in me." Here it becomes clear where God's dwelling place is. In that place, in the place where God should be, another being is sitting, so Jesus is the one who came to clean and sweep the temple. He is the one who came to prepare a place. Only when Jesus, according to the flesh, departs, will the dwelling place be prepared. Where is God? The praise of God today seems to pierce the sky. The exalted word for God reaches the heavens. One of them is the omnipresent and all-pervading God, who has no presence. How much of this is a hypothetical expression of human desire to give glory to God? Will God be satisfied with this? Where else is the noble faith of coram Deo, that is theological, biblical, and trying to give glory only to God? However, this is a shamanic term imbued with human flattery toward God. In expressing God in this way, the God Jesus speaks of does not exist in the omnipresent and all-pervading God who is flawlessly armed with the highest praise and theological theory. It means that the God Jesus wants to show is absent. Jesus does not teach that God is omnipresent. No, the Bible does not teach that God is everywhere. Many of the forebears of the Bible agree on where God is. It teaches that God is not omnipresent, but only dwells in temples. Yes, God is only in the temple. Even in the temple, it is the teaching of the Bible that he is only in the Holy of Holies beyond the veil. Where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I among them. Matthew chapter 18 verse 20. The 2 or 3 people are the anointed within themselves and the forebears who have been anointed, and they are the me they are testifying to. If you include the outer man who listens to the inner man, there are 2 or 3 people. It means that our outer man and inner man must finally become one, and God is with them. This same principle extends to human communication. Such a structure of communication is said to be where 2 or 3 people gather, I am among them. My Father testifies of me, and I testify of my Father. Moses testifies of me, and Elijah also testifies of me. I am in the Father and the Father is in me. These are the 2 or 3 witnesses. To teach this fact, there are the Pentateuch, the prophets, poetry, and many New Testaments. Wherever you look in the Bible, is there a place where the tabernacle is omitted and mentioned? Both the Old and New Testaments are books to talk about this temple. Did you know that the Bible is so thick to say that God is only in the temple in Jerusalem? At some point, God was expelled from the temple, adorned with a beautiful name, and reduced to the ubiquitous one. Your faith is a reliable God only when God exists everywhere. But what should you do? Your loyal confession that God is everywhere is synonymous with God nowhere. Stop praying like that now. Paradoxically, God is everywhere only when He is in the tabernacle. Why? The way, truth, and life that Jesus wants to show is God in that temple. That God can only be seen and met through me. Therefore, meeting God is meeting I, and those who have seen I are those who have seen God. God is not here and there, but here and in me. I is in me, and the I is in you. That I exists at the time of Abraham, the time of David, and there is yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That I exists in children, brothers, and sisters. Only when I can see that I in you, you and I meet as I. All other gods are dead gods. All other gods are murderers, slayers, liars, and deceivers. That God constantly promulgates laws and commandments to deceive. Why are quarrels and conflicts prevalent? It is because there is no I, and there is only affection, greed, and pride in this life. It's because the thief who stole me on my behalf is entrenched. No matter how much you ask who the I is about this thief, he is still a thief, not the I Jesus wants to say and show. There, if you ask a serious question, who am I? I is invisible and still only lies. Only I beyond lies is reconciled. It is the signal flare of love. Only within me is the way, the truth, and the life. God is only there. What is the road? I have to go towards myself. That's the way for me. There is no other way than me to achieve what I am. What is truth? I am the truth. What is hidden is revealed in Greek, which is called truth, aletheia. The hidden and hidden being is the light of the Holy of Holies and I. For me, only I am the truth. It is only me that makes me reach what I am. What is life? I am the life for me. What will be life besides me? Where is God? He is only in me. And He is only in you. God is never anywhere else. Satan is never anywhere else. He stays only in you. It was the faith of Jesus that I am the way, the truth, and the life. We, too, must follow his faith and say, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Are you a temple or a pandemonium?